Listen properly.
Hello again, troublemakers. You've just tuned into another round of chaos, controversy, and maybe a little bit too much pot stirring right here on the Futsak Files. First of all, just a reminder, if you'd rather prefer to jump straight to the main story, please feel free. I won't take it personally. You can check out where it starts on the timeline I have posted, but I promise, everything preceding the main story are worth sticking around for. Now, we are again starting this episode on a somber note. This is Desi. She's a fellow member of my marathon club, the Pretoria Police Marathon Club. I'm sure most of you have heard about the incident Saturday before last, where a drunk taxi driver, was arrested after hitting a runner during the Soweto Marathon. Well, unfortunately, that runner was Desi from our club. We've just heard the devastating news. Despite doctors' best efforts and the moments of hope we held onto, Desi passed away on Thursday. This is a devastating loss to her friends in the running community, but especially for her family and her two young daughters. Please keep them in your thoughts and prayers during this unimaginable time. And let's hope that the piece of human garbage that is a taxi driver who caused this gets the punishment he richly deserves. My deepest condolences to Desi's family. Now, before we dive into today's explosive subject, and before we hand out today's Empty Skull Award, here's a quick reminder. I share a short excerpt from one of my books in every episode. If it leaves you wanting more, you can order a digital copy, a PDF copy, of either book by simply emailing me at author.skulk@gmail.com. They're 75 Rand each, that's listen properly, 200 Rand less than retail, or 125 Rand for both, which is a full 400 Rand less than retail. And please remember, every cent goes to the animal charity I support. But I've also had a few requests from viewers for printed copies, especially to give as Christmas gifts. It will make a great Christmas gift. So if you prefer a printed version, just let me know. But it will cost a little bit more because of the printing and delivery costs. But a special thanks to the viewers who had ordered copies. So, without further ado, here is this week's excerpt from my second book.
I'm still seething as I make it to the parking lot, so distracted that I completely forget where I parked the cruiser. I stand there for a moment, trying to jog my memory. Then it hits me like a ton of bricks. The space where the Land Cruiser was parked is now empty. I stand there, frozen like an ice sculpture, stunned, trying to convince myself that it's impossible. How could a U.S. government vehicle get stolen on government property, right under the noses of G4S security officers parked just yards away? I rush over to the G4S guards, only to find one fast asleep and the other watching YouTube on his phone. I pound on their car window so hard they probably thought it was going to shatter. The driver rolls down the window and I say, "My cruiser that was parked right there was stolen probably moments ago. Didn't you see anything?" All I get in response is,
"Eesh, no sir, we're on our break. We didn't see anything."
He even throws in a dumbass look for good measure. I'm about to explode. How the hell could they not have seen anything? I bite my tongue and call the police's 10111 emergency number, their version of our 911. It takes 6 rings before someone answers. I pity the poor bastard whose home is being invaded, waiting that long and probably getting his head blown off in the meantime. The police promise to issue a bolo for the stolen cruiser immediately. Now comes the joy of informing Don that his brand new cruiser is likely already being stripped for parts in some township scrapyard. My phone lights up. It's Daniel. I don't have the energy for whatever he's going to say, but I answer anyway.
"Hey Hunter, everything okay?"
What a dumbass question, I think to myself. How would he know about this already? Why are you asking me that? His reply makes me throw my hands up in frustration.
"Because I was behind you when you left the parking lot, and I thought something had happened during your meeting."
I decide to play along to get the rest of his story. Why would you think anything was wrong, Daniel?
"Because I got the idea you were pissed. I've never seen you take off like that. Not sure if you noticed, but you drove over the flower bed."
My blood starts to boil. I didn't drive over the flower bed, bud, I say.
You really did, boss."
I'm grateful he's not standing in front of me right now. I'd probably beat him up if he were. I decide to build up to the moment I tell him just how shitty his observation skills are. Even worse than those G4S idiots. Would you like to know why I insist I didn't drive over the flower bed, Daniel? I ask. Before he can answer, I shout, because it was the frickin' criminal who stole it that was driving, you dumbass. How the hell could you even think I'd drive that recklessly? If you'd been just a little more observant, you'd have realized something was up, followed them, and we wouldn't be sitting on a 1.6 million rand loss.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that excerpt. Just for your information, based on a real event, and that you're already emailing me your order. Now then, it's time to award the Empty Skull Award to the biggest empty skull who has truly outdone themselves in recent events. So, without further ado, this week's Empty Skull Award goes to none other than the German ambassador to South Africa, who in an act of clear hardgryp, which translated from Afrikaans means crawling up the ANC government's stinking asses, declared the following on television news.
Lots of Eisbein, lots of beer, but no repression and persecution.
Schwein. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, I want to thank you for the great response on the last episode. I wish I could show them all, but I've chosen a few that really stood out. Again, if you'd rather jump straight to the main story, please feel free. But I promise, these are really worth sticking around for. Let's check them out. Paul Christiansen said, I trust the US will block all ANC foreign bank accounts and block travel visas. Well, Paul, I think once the pawpaw properly eats the fan, that will be the least they will do. Said, ANC can't pay salaries in their headquarters. There was a foiled cash-in-transit attempt yesterday. Affirmative shopping to pay salaries? They're desperate. Tarita Smith said, time for the Magnitsky Act is a US federal law that allows the president to impose sanctions on foreign individuals and entities responsible for human rights abuses and corruption. Odin's Viking said, I agree with 90% of Marco Rubio's statement, only I don't see Mandela in this saintly light. Their masks have finally been removed by President Trump. Now the emperor has no clothes, naked for all to see. Mike B said, the Americans are waking up to the fact communism never died. It just changed form. Back in the day, they were warned, but they didn't listen. Well, Mike, I think in South Africa, communism will never die. Tim Vogel said, the ANC South African government picking a fight with the giant USA is just like farting against thunder. Michelle Krause said, the best practical advice, get enrolled in refugee system history, always repeats itself. Cool J said, read the Special Agent McCullum book and really enjoyed it. Thanks. Hope there are more coming in the series. Well, thanks for the nice feedback, Cool J, but I'm sorry to disappoint you. That was it. I'm out of creative stories for now. Purple Duck said, the way animals are treated in a country always says a lot about the state of the people. Well, Purple Duck, all I can tell you is you are spot on with that statement. Stuart Campbell said, the Empty Skull Award this week is right on target. The fool thinks his chummy approach will save him. All right, that's as far as the comments go for today. I try to keep it short. Please remember, I read every single one, and I mean it. I really appreciate you taking your precious time to share your thoughts. So, please keep them coming. Now, at last you'll say, let's get into today's episode. So, right on my doorstep, in fact, I live next to Waterkloof Air Force Base. A strange rhythm of white cargo planes landing and taking off at all hours. South Africa doesn't officially have that kind of fleet. Well, I don't really think they have any kind of fleet left in the air or at sea. So the question must be asked, is South Africa still supplying arms to Russia? Today we're diving in deep, chasing the evidence and anomalies and the politics and asking, are we poking the bear? Are we provoking the United States by siding with Russia? Well, not just Russia, but all the other enemies of the United States. Well, while we're on the subject of our government's dear friends, the Russians, you were probably wondering about my T-shirt. Well, the T-shirt is specially for our Russian friends. And it must look funny just saying rest in pieces, but let me show you the rest, especially for our Russian friends. It says, rest in pieces, Moskva. I'm sure they'll love it. Anyway, back to our main story. So Senator Kennedy summed up the American view of South Africa in a few powerful words. Listen properly to what he said just a few days ago.
Well, they're a unique problem for America.
Correct.
I mean, they're our enemy right now. I mean, they're buddies with all of our enemies, and they've been very critical of the United States. They're our enemy right now. They're our enemy right now.
Yeah, that is spot on. So just a reminder, if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button, because we're digging into the most consequential question in South Africa's brain-dead foreign policy right now. Let's get started. Well, to be honest, I never expected this story. I live immediately adjacent to Waterkloof Air Force Base. Over the past few months, I've started noticing a pattern late at night, early morning, now even brazenly during the day. Long white-bodied heavy cargo jets, far larger than the local South African Air Force transport planes, taxiing, landing, departing. Well, planes I definitely don't recognize as standard Air Force inventory. Well, not that there are any left flying anyway. Let's unpack that. We know the South African Air Force isn't flying huge strategic cargo jets in large numbers. Its listed medium air transport capability is the C-130BZ Hercules, with its capacity 18 tons. But the ones I see, white, unbranded, heavy transport types, kind of aircraft capable of very heavy payloads. Then there's this. Others have noticed similar jets at Waterkloof. For example, a recent article reports Russian-made Ilyushin cargo planes spotted flying in and out of Waterkloof. And, more concretely, a report noted that a Russian cargo plane arrived at Waterkloof, unloading or loading unsuspected cargo. Yeah, unspecified, yeah. Like what was loaded onto the Lady R at Simonstown Naval Base, maybe? You know, if I'm seeing this on my front lawn, what's really going on? Are these routine logistic flights, or is it something deeper fixed to our skies? What strikes me, the frequency has never been so high. Years ago, these jets landing were rare. Now it's constant. I want to make the case that this is a symptom, a signal. South Africa has shifted from a posture of neutrality into something far more confrontational and sinister, especially towards the United States. Now let's be clear. South Africa is intentionally poking the bear. If South Africa was simply handling logistics for its own supply chain, which is also non-existent, we'd expect transparency, or at least consistency with known fleet types. Add to that, Russia has a history of arms export and uses front companies for logistics. South Africa has shown military-to-military ties with Russia and China, naval drills off its coast, etc. The US and other Western observers already believe South Africa is facilitating transfers or being complicit. Why would South Africa risk the ire of the United States, apart from them being freaking dumb? Why allow Russian aircraft at a base that is closely monitored? Because the signal appears to be, we're not in your partner anymore. We have become an adversary. This is provocative. South Africa has time after time showed where its loyalty lies. The most recent and audacious proof came at the 2024 Africa Aerospace and Defence Air Show in Pretoria. In a calculated act of sabotage, South Africa's useless Minister of Defence forced the United States to withdraw conveniently failing to provide the necessary diplomatic guarantees required. Can you believe it? So what followed was nothing short of a disgrace. Spectators, expecting to witness the sheer power of the US Air Force, were instead subjected to the wave of red, a derogatory term for the overwhelming presence of made in China military aircraft. The disappointment was palpable, and in an even more sickening display of arrogance, the minister blamed the US for its own absence, claiming the US had failed to submit the proper overflight and landing clearance request for military purposes. Well, of course, this was an outright lie, and if the insult weren't already grievous enough, the minister had the gall to claim the US was held to the same standards as other countries, a statement designed to cover up the deliberate obstruction. The US Embassy, with commendable professionalism, clarified that the US had indeed submitted a formal request to the Department of Defense. What they asked for? Standard diplomatic guarantees for the protection of their personnel and assets, including the ability for the US personnel to wear uniforms, exemptions from tariffs and custom duties, and immunity on par with diplomatic staff. These are no outrageous demands, but routine protocols in place to ensure the safety and dignity of all participants. A US official underscored the meticulousness of their paperwork and deadlines, and having worked at the US Embassy for many years, I can confirm there is no chance in hell that the US failed in their obligations. The same, however, cannot be said for the South African government, whose inefficiency and incompetence are legendary. A reality I know all too well after nearly 2 decades working for them. But the hypocrisy doesn't end there. Russia, a country South Africa can't seem to fawn over enough, was granted permission to participate after supposedly complying with the necessary procedures, according to the empty-skulled South African Air Force chief.
I am Lieutenant General Wiseman Bambo, the Chief of the South African Air Force. I am invited here in the Africa Air Force Forum, a conference that is taking place here in Senegal, in Dakar. A very important conference, I believe.
I don't know about that name. Wiseman. So, if the flights are for arms or high-value military cargo, then the stakes are much higher. Here's a question I want to leave you with. If not arms supplies, or at least some high-level military logistics, what else explains heavy unmarked cargo flights near a major military base at odd hours with white-label jets that don't conform to the South African Air Force fleet? So we're left with suspicion, patterns, and the optics of confrontation. Let's talk about what this means and what to keep an eye on. If South Africa is involved in arms logistics with Russia, which I'm sure of, the economic and diplomatic costs could be huge, especially for relations with the US, trade access, and foreign investment. Domestically, public trust erodes if citizens suspect secret deals in their own backyard without explanation. And remember, the US is certainly monitoring this. If South Africa is circumventing restraints and allowing Russia to operate freely, there's a message to Washington. Here are the signs that could help clarify the picture. We are seeing patterns, flight behavior that demands questions. The heavy white cargo jets by my window, the increasingly bold posture of South Africa towards the US, the comfy, I almost said slutty ties with Russia and China, it all ties up with the narrative of a country throwing caution to the wind. So, are we poking the bear? I leave you with this. When you see a horizon filled with unfamiliar aircraft, ask yourself, whose cargo? Whose agenda? Whose alliance? Because if we're not paying attention, the skies above Waterkloof might become a front line in a global game we don't fully understand yet. If you found this episode useful, please like, share, and subscribe. And also click the bell icon. And drop a comment below. What do you think is happening? Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep safe, stay observant, not just for Russian planes, and until next time, cheers.